In this 4-part series, I'm going to be showing you the ins and outs of Rondo. This brand new map has features we haven't seen before in esports, and will push your team to create brand new strategies. This series will help you understand Rondo and what you need to do to win on it. I'll be showing you the major drop locations and their features, all the recall stations and which to stay away from, the hills and waterways, and suggesting some areas to avoid. In this video, we'll be focusing on the northwest corner of the map. Let's get into it. The northwest corner of the map features 2 major cities, lots of high ground, and 9 recalls. Although the zone doesn't typically go here, its unique features make this quarter important to really understand. First, let's break down the major drop locations named on the map and how to play them. Bailey is great for loot, but open spaces and far apart compounds make hot drops dangerous and should be avoided. There is a recall station to the northwest, and the ridges and rice fields on both the north and south make this city sandwichable and difficult to play in end zones. Not only that, but you're also overlooked on the east. For the early game, if you don't have a hot drop on your hands, this city offers good rotations out with a lot of car spawns, but be careful in end zones. Minhoo has great loot but is too small for a full team. This is an excellent position for a duo, or a split with 2 in the city and 2 in the surrounding area. The only danger point is the pagoda to the northwest. Nanchan is large and can be easily split into 2 or 3 sections. Suitable for multiple teams, you can probably expect some action in both the early and late game. The waterways on both the west and northeast channel traffic north to south. The cliffs on the south will be important, and most likely you'll see a trend of quickly looting in the city and then moving up to this point for mid-game rotation clashes. Rayanne is small, with particularly tricky high ground surrounding it to the north, south, and northeast. With water on the west side, the only open and clear rotation path lies to the southeast. Once you're out of town, only 2 bridges connect you to the rest of the map, so be careful of rotational clashes. Rayanne itself doesn't have much loot, so it's only good for one team and ideal for a split across a broader area. It is dangerous to stay in, and it has a recall, so defend that if you want, but this is a drop and go compound to me. Jaoin is very like Bocado, with a large open building in the middle. Jaoin features more clustered building, but be careful as there are still copious amounts of open space. There is controlling high ground to the west as well as a water feature, which will make it an interesting place for end zones. There's a lot of open space all around the city, including high ground to the south and the west. These high ground points and the gaps between buildings will make it dangerous to move freely in the city once the mid-game hits, so be sure of your position and think outside the box with your angles. Stadium is a classic hot drop city with lots of loot and a fun high ground position on the roof. The city is divided into 2 separate parts, the city and the stadium itself. Both have their strengths. The city has more cover and stability, giving you the best chance at a high survival time, while the stadium has a recall station and incredibly controlling high ground that's hard to attack. To the east and the south are high ground points that might make it hard to rotate out of this area, so rotation to the north is going to be your best bet to get out. The west has major high ground that will be tough to fight, particularly if you're in the city. With so much control given to so much of the surrounding terrain, you need to use your players to create a strong defense if you want to use Stadium, either by splits or by off angles. A complete 180 from Stadium, Bamboo is a small pagoda surrounded by water located in a forest of bamboo trees. There's only 2 bridges to get vehicles across, but the water is crossable on foot, so this position is disastrous if the enemy is allowed to get close. Bamboo could be a fortress if defended from the trees rather than just the building. If no one is allowed past the forest, then your haven is safe. To really use this space, you need vehicles and cover flares as the bamboo provides little cover, but the building does allow a little elevation to back up your players on the edge. This compound is definitely a late game defensive play that will be interesting to see evolve. Next, let's take a look at the recalls. There are 8 recall stations in this corner of the map, each with their own dangers. The island recall outside of Beilu is a really interesting station. There are 2 vehicle bridges and 1 pedestrian bridge, but the water is walkable. On the west side lies an overlook point on some high ground. The recall itself is very open, but there are a couple of buildings with good elevation. There is a problematic compound to the north and a ridge to the south that makes it hard to defend from all sides. This compound would be the easiest to play with a split around it rather than in it itself. Overall, this is a good attacking position, but difficult to defend unless you have a strong defensive split. Beilu itself also has a recall station within it. Located next to a rice field on the other side of the road from the city, it offers a little cover with 2 buildings and a wall. The hills to the west may offer a direction to come in from and avoid teams inside the city. This recall will be used either by teams in town or teams looking to get a cheeky revive right under Beilu's nose. Minhoo Station has decent cover from the compound itself, and the recall is easily accessible with smokes. The rotation out is also easy with lots of options on all sides. However, the high ground to the north and southeast will make it hard to loot the compound if overlooked by teams. Rayanne has a decent recall and it's well protected on all but the north side, meaning with smokes it can be used safely. It is imperative that a player is on that north ridge to defend that side, as that is the only really weak point of this station. The recall station to the south of Nanchan has a good compound, but the recall itself is very open with little cover. A hill on the west and a mountain to the southeast pose a problem for rotations, so this is probably best used in the early and mid games before the teams start looking for clashes. Jaoin's recall is not recommended to use. It's in the middle of a rice field with very open terrain and with, apart from a hay shed, no cover at all. As if that wasn't enough, there are playable ridges for attack on the northeast, southeast, and west. This recall is for a desperate in and out job, but not playable normally. The middle recall has a nice compound which provides lots of cover internally whilst being surrounded by open fields on all sides. This makes it great for defense since you can see the enemy coming from a mile away. A split to the ridge on the northwest would make this position really powerful in the mid to late game. However, that advantage might prove a problem when trying to rotate out of the compound, so make sure to scout before leaving. Most likely no one will use Stadium's recall except the winner of the hot drop. It's impossible to use if a team is there because the roof controls both the inside and outside. If you control the stadium, then use it, otherwise go elsewhere. The recall for Bamboo is outside of the compound and forest. It's very hard to get to, is not defendable from Bamboo itself, and is very dangerous for a mid-rotation recall. Like Stadium, this station most likely won't be used much. Next, let's take a look at the terrain. You'll get the most out of the following graphics by pausing and making your own notes and observations. The high ground areas in this quarter are located here. There are also smaller hills here. Here, you can see the choke points in red, the low ground in green, and the waterways in blue. The choke points are mostly areas directly underneath or in between high ground points, but also make careful note of the bridges that are all marked here. Also be aware that there are no boat spawns on this section of the river, so your only way over the water is via a bridge. The high ground areas offer some great Miramar-like views of the surrounding terrain that will really help you have a great advantage in game. I encourage you to make careful study of both of these graphics, and in game as well. There are lots of compounds in fantastic areas and clever rotation paths that will work for your team. You now have all the basics you need to create your team strategy in Rondo. Whether you're a casual player or an esports hopeful, Rondo is a very important map to learn because of its unique features. This map can only strengthen your skills as a player, and this series will help you do that. Stay tuned for the next video where we do all of this again, but for the southwest corner. And in the meantime, check out my introduction to Rondo here. Until then, see you next time.